Hello guys, it's Alg and I. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be commentating on and reviewing this video. I don't know what review, but whatever the term is. We're going to be doing something about this video here. Transphobia and analysis by PhilosophyTube. I will try to link the video in the description below. If you want to actually watch the full video for yourself. This might just be part one. I might do it in two parts. We'll see how it goes here. We'll see how things go with this video here first. But anyway, yeah, basically I'm just gonna be addressing some of the arguments made here and just watching a bit of the video. I'll skip around a little bit because if you want to watch the full video, just click on it in the description, and you should be able to watch it and stuff. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started.
The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus apparently used to teach using this demonstration. A visual experience is like this.
I know what he's about to say.
Do you know anything about that? There's a
No, I
full
don't.
list of trans
Yeah,
creators and writers and philosophers down there in the description whose work you should definitely check out. Some of them actually helped me make this video. Because without their experience, this discussion is incomplete, and I'm actually incapable of being an expert on it. If I'm your first exposure to these ideas, then that's cool, as long as I'm not the last. And as for my trans audience, feel free to take the rest of class off and go to the pub. Alternatively, stick around and tell me what I got wrong. So let's begin with the work of trans philosophy professor Talia Betcher. And I'd like to start by introducing you to the concept of yidad. I'm not sure how well this will translate outside the UK, but I'll do my best. First things first, yidad is not daddy. Daddy's something else. Put daddy out of your mind. Your dad,
Bro, like, what is this, dude? I mean, no insult to PhilosophyTube here, right? It's just, what was that? Like, what was that supposed to be? I don't understand all that much. Like, I know it was like a joke, but it's just like, I don't know.
is not necessarily your actual dad, or my actual dad. He's more like the platonic ideal of a certain kind of opinion haver. Typically, your dad is...
So basically, a stereotype. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying, philosophy? You want this to be like a stereotype. You wanna say, well, this is if I'm getting this correct. We'll see if I once I continue the context of the video. My guess is what this is my guess, of speculation on it. My guess is of what PhilosophyTube is saying is that your dad okay your dad is basically just an idea of it's basically just an argument, or like just an idea taken from like one side that's like an idealized form of that, right? An idealized idea, if that makes any sense. An idealized idea. Haha, very funny. But yeah, an idealized idea. Basically, my guess is where it's to be like, okay, so like if like the idea, let's say is like the conservative view of like transgenderism, like there's only two genders, whatever, and that you raise a boy as a boy, a girl as a girl, whatever, like that will be your dad, even though if that's not what your actual dad thinks. That's just like the idea of your dad, quote unquote. Maybe that's what it is. It's just a stereotype of what conservatives might think, or what the idealized version of what they might think. Or is this what this is, or is this what PhilosophyTube thinks that this might be? We'll see. We will see. I guess if I continue, once I continue the video. Okay.
relatively privileged, not always male, not always older. There are varying degrees of your dad. Maybe you are your dad, but here's your dad. 15 years ago, if he's straight, your dad would have said something casually homophobic. Something like this.
I've got no problem with gay people, right? No problem at all. So long as they do it away from me, I don't mind.
15 years on, your dad's learned that sort of thing doesn't fly anymore, and he's changed for the better. According to Betcher, the philosophical core of homophobia and biphobia is the false belief that same-sex relationships are in some sense not as good as straight ones.
Okay, well that depends on entirely what's true. I mean, I'd say that it depends on what religion is true. Like, if Christianity is true, then yeah, homosexuality is a sin and is bad. But that doesn't mean that we have to be homophobic to those people. And I'm going to define homophobia as like an irrational fear or hatred of gay people. I don't know why that just popped up, but basically just an irrational fear or irrational hatred of gay people. I think that's just what homophobia is, and I don't think it's homophobic to think like if it's true that if Christianity is true that homophobia is a sin. Sorry, not homophobia. Sorry, that homosexuality is a sin. Homophobia could also be a sin, I guess, if you actually, hate somebody, hate your neighbor. You should tell you love your neighbor. So I guess it could also be a sin. But like disagreeing with the with the idea of homosexuality being considered a good thing, I wouldn't say is necessarily homophobic. And I feel like saying that could, I guess, bring on some more nuances. It could technically, um, I guess it could just, become a more dangerous thing depending on like what we're calling what we're calling homophobic according to what. Like if we're basically just diluting the term homophobia, if we're diluting the term of hating gay people to just, okay, I don't believe that, homosexuality is good in my opinion, even though you can do your own thing, I can't stop you, like if we're gonna call people who just disagree with homosexuality, um, you know, homophobic, then we're just gonna dilute the word of its original or more original meaning, um, and I don't think that's a very good thing to do. But I guess my bad. Here we go.
because they're supposed to be sinful or unnatural or whatever the version of the bigotry we're talking about says. At its heart.
Okay, so you're telling me that it's bigotry to say it's unnatural to basically like fit two puzzle pieces together that will not that don't necessarily fit together. Like what's like I mean in a sense it can be considered natural because some animals technically commit homosexuality, but since we listen to animals or other creatures for to get our morals from, I mean, like I think certain spiders eat their husbands or maybe and some animals eat their babies. So I don't think us humans should eat our babies. I mean, I doubt most people would think that, so I mean, just saying it's natural doesn't necessarily mean it's good, right? But I digress.
That kind of bigotry rests, she says, on an ethical claim. A claim about what human beings should and should not do.
Well, yeah,
So when your dad said, as long as they do it away from me, he was still holding on to that core idea. Because he...
Well, what do you mean, okay, do it away from him? Like, is this like... I just might be kind of like nitpicking here, but like, does he mean, like doing PDA, like like public shows of affection or whatever, in front of him, or like just because he doesn't want to see it, or are you saying that if like someone's a bad person, or homophobic, if they don't want to see someone be gay in front of them, like it's like, well, it's like, what I mean, if you don't want like I guess maybe what some people would say might be like forced upon him. I don't know if it's really being forced upon him. Like I mean, people if it's in public, people could do public shows of affection, fine, whatever, but like. I don't think it's necessarily hateful to not want to see it if you're not that yourself, because maybe to you you're like, I don't really like maybe you just don't want to be like, I don't know, maybe you just don't want to see it, whatever. I don't know. It's like if I don't want to see a certain movie, I don't have to see it, whatever. I mean, this is technically, though I don't think that the person should be able to also, maybe it's a bad argument, because maybe you should be able like to force people to like to say like you can't do this in a public place. Like obviously no, I'm not saying you should be able to, like people shouldn't be able to like show their affection in a public space because somebody else doesn't want to see it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying just them not wanting to see it I don't think it necessarily makes it hateful necessarily. Or does this mean that I have to go back to the video actually. Go back like
do it away from me. He was still holding on to that core idea.
So do it away from me, basically. Maybe it just means like stay away from, I guess, my family. Don't try to get my family doing it or something. I don't know. That's probably not what it means, but maybe a possibility.
Because he'd have been fine with what he perceived as a straight relationship happening near him. He just thought that same-sex relationships weren't as good somehow.
Or maybe because he's just not attracted to men, so he doesn't want to see men kissing or something. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But it seems like a feasible option, don't you think?
Although he pruned the fungus of his bigotry, he was still holding on to the spore. And in the 15 years hence, he's realised that that spore is false and harmful, and he's let it go and become a better person. But now, your dad will say something like this.
Yeah, if people want to be called by whatever pronouns or wear whatever clothes or change their name, that's okay with me. I haven't got a problem with it at all. I think people should be able to do as they please.
Maybe that's your position. Confession time, years ago when I was an undergrad, about 18, I was...
I'm just gonna say, saying, okay, they should do what they please. I mean, how far are we going here? I mean, of course, it might be a slippery slope fallacy, but like, given the circumstances of like certain things trying to be justified in America because, or brought into like as communities or whatever, like the MAPS community. I know probably most LGBT folks don't want to associate with those people. I know this, might not be the best argument. But I'm saying, I'm just saying, like saying you can do whatever you want. I mean, well, what do you mean by that? Because I'm sure there's a limit to what you say. Even though you say they can do whatever they want, I don't care. I'm sure there's a point where you would care if they did certain things, right? So technically, it's not probably whatever they want. I'm sure there's a limit to it, So I mean, that's all I'm saying, I guess.
When I, in my enormously privileged bubble, first encountered the concept of being transgender, this was the position that I defaulted to. It just seemed like that's what a nice person would do, and I wanted to be nice and get on with everyone. So I've met cisgender people of all ages and backgrounds and sexualities who hold this basically like liberal-minded and tolerant view, which is still dangerously wrong. So if that's you, then that should...
You can be tolerant and yet dangerously wrong still. What does that mean? Does that mean if you don't agree with does this mean like, okay, even if you do tolerate me, you have to actually have the, I guess, I don't know. Let's see what he says later and stuff.
Invites us to take the next step. She says that whilst this outlook is, in her opinion, preferable to outright hostility against trans people, like your dad's casual homophobia 15 years ago, it's still holding on to the
casual
spore.
homophobia, okay.
Because she says, unlike homophobia and biphobia, where the core false claim is an ethical one, the core of a lot...
I wonder what prove like the ethical claim, I guess, that it's not wrong. I guess I would probably have the burden on me to prove that it's wrong necessarily, but I don't know. I guess I could just bring up the Bible or just bring up like other things like how it actually can harm the physical human body or how like it's not exactly, in certain situations for certain people, I guess it wouldn't be like necessarily the cleanest act to do, and it wouldn't, which I mean explains why diseases come about. But anyway,
a lot of the transphobia she's experienced and researched is metaphysical skepticism. The false belief that trans people don't really exist as trans people, but
so basically, basically trans people don't exist as the way they say they are. Basically, he's saying like, if you believe that trans people aren't the gender they claim to be, then that's a false belief. I think that's the idea here.
Really, the gender they were assigned at birth. And this metaphysical skepticism, she says, is what in the minds of bigots operates as a theoretical justification for putting trans people in the wrong prisons, denying them access to domestic violence shelters, banning them from public spaces, misgender...
I don't think they're getting banned from public spaces. I think, maybe public spaces for the opposite gender that they were assigned at birth, at least. First of all, you're not really assigned anything at birth. You're observed at birth. They observe what you have, and then they think, okay, most likely this person is like the chances are this person is the gender that that it seems to be. So they just say that, right? I mean, you could have other, technically, or I mean, there could be there's more complications. Of course, sex isn't like the most isn't like the most simple thing in the world, but
them, committing violence towards them, and all...
Yeah, I also noticed that he's using a lot of just throwing around the term bigot so much. Like, it's interesting that a lot of people use this term bigot, homophobe, whatever, transphobe a lot. Like they'll use it a lot. Like especially when taught, and they won't even use the word correctly. They'll just use the word, meaning, okay, this person doesn't agree with them on these views, and I think that's dangerous, so they're transphobe or whatever. Even though the person might not even hate trans people or gay people, they just might not agree that they just might not agree with the ideology or the idea of someone being able to change their gender. And I feel like labeling that as like you're immoral for believing this, for believing that, you know, that just believing differently, even though you don't hate these people, and even if and you're as with like the dad analogy earlier with like oh, they can do whatever they want, whatever, even that's so problematic according to I think according to I would think according to philosophy tube here, um, but basically I feel like that's kind of a dangerous idea, I think, to basically say, if you don't, and this is where a lot of conservatives, I think, get the idea where, like, and they that, leftists or whatever. I'm not saying all leftists believe this. I'm not. Keep in mind, when I generalize like this, I don't necessarily mean all necessarily. So, keep in mind this is not all leftists. I'm not. Like basically, if you, what was this? Yeah, I think it's a dangerous idea to say, like, if you disagree, like, this is where they get the idea where, like, if you disagree with me, these people are saying, like, they get the idea where, like, a lot of people are saying, if you disagree with me, then you're a homophobe and you're a bad person. Like, I feel like it's a dangerous idea. Because then that could, like, of course, as we've seen the Charlie Kirk situation, Rip Charlie Kirk, may God rest his soul. Like, people can eventually justify that if they make you, like, if they calling you a Nazi or whatever, because you maybe do one thing that the Nazis, have also done sometime at some point. You use like one tactic that the Nazis also happen to use, or you said, like, or something, or even that you just, you disagree with them, or you, like, basically, like, for example, they might think that you might want to take away their rights or whatever by not having them go into, like, the prison that they want to be in, or something. But to you, it just makes sense not to. It's not because you want to take away the rights. It's because you just don't believe that's reality. That's I mean, and it's not because you, like, hate the person or want them to have their rights taken away. But the way a lot of people some people, not a lot, but when people will phrase it, is that you're a Nazi, you're a bad person for wanting to do that. And when you call people Nazis enough, they'll start, like, a lie told once is a lie, and a lie told a thousand times becomes the truth. I think that's a quote from Joseph Goebbels, a Nazi propaganda minister. So and that in itself is a Nazi tactic. So does that mean the people that are saying that are Nazis themselves? I wouldn't say so, but that would make them just as much of a Nazi as they'd call me if I believed that they called what they say were, like, making me a Nazi, as what I've just said. But anyway, back to the video.
All manner of horrific treatment. Nowadays, a skeptic, or skeptic if you're in North America, usually means somebody who prioritizes evidence, especially.
Did you just say the same thing twice and said skeptic as in America? What? Okay, that's funny.
Scientific evidence in explaining things, or at least someone who aspires to do that with the evidence as they see it. On YouTube, things don't always shake out that way. But the ancient Greeks had a far more radical form of skepticism, one which is alive and well right now. Unlike the rational skeptics of today, the skeptics of yore were less keen on evidence. In fact, at times their position was pretty anti-evidence. Their driving question was, how do you know the things that you claim to know?
With evidence. Why? How else would you know? With evidence or experience. Like, that's how you would know. I mean, I don't understand the point.
You say all these things about the world, about reason, about what exists, but you could be wrong. For every experience you have, which you think is evidence of the truth, you could have an identical experience, but which is false. So you can never really... How do you
have are you saying that not all opinions or not all experiences are valid? Is that what you're saying? Because, like, I could agree with that, sort of, like, in a sense, like, not all of everything that you think is going to be true. Not everything that you feel is going to be maybe what you think it is, but I don't know, like, for example, if you think, okay, like, well, I guess for the trans thing, if you think that you're the opposite sex, right? That doesn't mean that you are, just because you liked being called that or whatever. That might not be the accurate way that it is supposed to be. Now, doesn't mean that what you're experiencing isn't an experience that's happening. It just means that it might not be the way you're interpreting it. Maybe you're interpreting it wrong. Maybe that's what philosophy is saying.
For certain that you know anything. If you've studied A-level philosophy, you might have encountered René Descartes and his idea of radical doubt. Similar sort of thing. If you have
Skepticism, named after Plato's Academy, and later Pyrrhonist.
a relaxed, worry-free state. Don't ever say
Oh, man.
that anything is definitely true or that anything definitely exists. Don't believe anything. Just have your opinion. No.
So is this like I'm sure this is like him just like talking about like a Greek philosopher or something. But like, are you saying that objective truth does not exist, or does it, or at least doesn't matter enough to be considered to exist, or to be thought about? Because I would say that's definitely not true. If you just have your opinion on things, right, and you don't base stuff off of truth, well, what'll happen, right? If you don't base things off of truth, how can we even function as a society? Like, if, for example, if there's like a doctor, right, and someone's like for example, a woman, right, or but assign a woman at birth, but they claim to be like they are claiming to be a man, right? Because truth doesn't matter enough, so basically I'm just going to claim to be something that I'm not, right? And you go to the doctor, right? And they ask what your sex is or gender, and they say you're a man, but you're actually a woman. There's different and they prescribe you a certain amount of medication or something for something. But because they think you're a man, because you said you're a man, if they believe that, then they'll just prescribe you a dose that a man would have, because men might be able to take more or less than a woman usually would to have affect them. So it's just right. There's differences, and these matter because depending on what medication is, it could harm you or hurt you depending on how much the dosage. Like this, it matters.
That it's just an opinion, and you'll never have to worry about whether or not you're right.
The ancient skeptic Sextus Empiricus writes, "Those who hold the opinion that things are good or bad by nature are perpetually troubled. When they lack what they believe to be good, they take themselves to be persecuted by natural evils and pursue what, so they think, is good. And when they have acquired these things, they experience more troubles, for they are elated beyond reason and measure, and in fear of change they do anything so as not to lose what they believe to be good. But those who make no determination about what is good and bad by nature neither avoid nor pursue anything with intensity, and hence they are tranquil." And Sextus makes it tempting.
Hold on.
And when they have
Let's those who hold the opinion that things are good or bad by nature are perpetually troubled. No, I think okay. Like I guess by nature, what does that mean? Like I guess okay, like if we're talking about like supernatural, then maybe not. But like by nature itself, like maybe like I don't know.
these things,
When they lack what they believe to be good, they think themselves persecuted by natural evils, and pursue what they think is good. So basically, they try to be good. They try to be a good person. And when they have acquired these things, they may experience more troubles, and they elated beyond reason and measure, for whatever that means. In fear of change, they do anything so as not to lose what they believe. So basically, they try to be a good person and try not to deviate from that. I think. But those who make no determination about what is good or bad by nature would neither avoid nor pursue anything intensely, hence they are tranquil. That seems literally like the Buddhist philosophy of nirvana, right there. Basically, don't desire anything. Don't desire to do good, because if you do you might not be satisfied or something. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think it's important that if there is an actual good or bad, I think it's important to know that, because truth matters, like I just explained.
they experience who make nothing. On the flip side, if
People should be able to do what they like. What we're really saying is, trans people are the gender they were assigned at birth, but we're just going to play along with it because that's the nice thing to do.
Yeah. Instead of basically, it makes it seem like it's a bad thing to at least try to what do you think is to be kind and say that even though you believe something different. Like, how dare I believe that trans people are the gender they were at birth? How dare I believe that?
So we're still holding on to the spore of the bigotry.
So it's bigotry is a philosophy tube trying to say that it's bigotry to not literally. It seems like you're saying like it's bigotry to not agree with trans people. It's bigotry to not believe what they tell you and stuff. Even though I would ask what the definition of a woman is here, because if it's the circular, one is whoever says they're a woman is, then why would I believe that, right? But then also there's a bunch of philosophy things going on here saying, well, technical truth doesn't matter anyway. So this kind of makes sense where this take might be coming from, or where where this take got greenlit or something.
Lives and waits to either flourish in us again or be passed on and flourish in someone else. But okay, maybe you're still a little bit your dad, and you're on board, and you want everyone to be happy and protected and have legal rights if they need them. But
Also, quick thing. We were just talking about a bigotry. Of course, I'm sure bigotry. This person, I'm sure, like that supposed to thinks that bigotry is bad, right? Wasn't the earlier philosophy that if you look at, you literally quoted something that's literally said that if you try to be good or bad, if you try to be good, if there's a natural good, then you're gonna end up in problems. So like, isn't that saying that you shouldn't be striving to be good, that you shouldn't desire to be good? Then why would I listen to you when it comes to talking about, not being a bigot? Why would it matter? Because after all, truth doesn't necessarily matter, as we've learned from this video, or as it seems, or at least it seems to be. Let me know if that's not what actually philosophy 2 probably meant. Let me know. I could be wrong. Okay, and then also, and also we learned that trying to be good doesn't necessarily matter. So why does it matter to try to even affirm what trans people say or claim to be? Why does that matter? Why does it matter that I think that they're not the gender they claim to be? Why does it matter that I think that they're the gender they sign at birth? What's so bad about that, right? Shouldn't you not be, just like trying to look for truth? Shouldn't you not be like desiring to be good and try to be kind? Why you should not desire that? Like this makes no sense. It's.
When you suggest that we sit down and talk about this, maybe you feel people aren't willing to debate it with you. Or perhaps you're one of the people who watches my show and leaves comments like this.
I get where this guy's coming from, but he could have presented things a bit more neutrally. I thought this was supposed to be a philosophy channel, more like ideology tube.
And yes, I've deliberately...
This is BreadTube. This is I think anyway.
...explicitly called the transphobic position false in this video. And moreover, transphobic, rather than gender critical, the euphemism a lot of transphobes like to try and hide behind. And again...
As I've seen, I've watched King Critical cover a bit of this video. I would definitely suggest his channel. His channel is really good. I love watching his videos. And then also he covered this basically on
again,
not all people who are sort of transphobes, whatever, who disagree with the trans agenda are gender critical. Gender critical, like King Critical explained in the video I watched, I'm gonna kind of summarize it. It's basically just someone who doesn't believe necessarily in the concept of like that, in the gender roles, right? That if you are a boy, then you should play with trucks, so that if you're a boy, you should provide for the family. That's just kind of what it is. They believe that that they're critical of that idea, that you should do certain things because you are a certain gender. So it's I don't know. That's what he said anyway.
Metaphysical skepticism is at the heart of the transphobic position, can help shed some light here. Since the position of the transphobe is that trans people don't really exist as trans people, and the position of trans people is obviously that they do exist, immediately we can see that no compromise is possible.
Then we debate it and find out who's right and who's wrong. Then we just talk about it and say, okay, here's the evidence for this, and here's the evidence for that, and whatever, and then we can talk it out.
They either exist or they don't. There's no middle ground. So in any debate on this issue, it's going to be winner takes all. The trans person then is in the impossible situation of having to prove their own existence to someone whose every response is going to be, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know?
Well, what's so bad about that? It's not impossible if it's impossible for you to prove to prove your worldview, to prove that, then why are you trying to tell me that I'm a bad person if I disagree with it? If you're going to call me a bad person for disagreeing, you better explain two things. One, why you're right and why I'm wrong. And two, why I'm a bad person for disagreeing with you on that issue. And like if you're gonna tell me a bad person, like if you're gonna say I'm a bad person, right? You better be able to prove that I'm wrong and that I'm a bad person for doing that. Rather, are you saying that trans people shouldn't have to prove their point in a debate? I mean, I'm not saying every trans person has to get into debate every time that someone talks to them about that doesn't want to do that, right? But I'm saying if you're gonna call someone a bad person, then I mean, I sure hope you can defend that position. If you can't defend that position, then you're just going in. You just kind of isn't that like blind faith? You just believe that just because you feel that way or something. Like that makes no sense. I mean,
it's as impossible as if it were reversed, and the transphobe were asked to prove in the face of total metaphysical skepticism that they are cis. If the
well, I could just say I'm cis because I was born with certain things, right? It's not impossible, right? It's only impossible for someone whose definition is circular, like a woman is whoever says they're a woman. Like that would be probably impossible to defend because that's a circular definition, right? So, I mean, basically, maybe not impossible to defend, but really difficult at the very least, I think, or quite difficult. But you know, it wouldn't be impossible for me to defend my position that I am the way I'm that I'm the way I am at birth, you know, for reasons, you know, for basically if I have a consistent good definition for the woman, right, and I have like proof that, you know, of such thing of like that, you know, I can be whatever, dude. I kind of lost it. These are unscripted videos. This is an unscripted video at least. So, if I go kind of what am I talking about here? That's because I might have forgotten what I was about to say. So,
transphobe acknowledges that trans people exist as trans people, then that amounts to a total forfeit of their position. So the strongest place a trans person could get to in that debate would still probably be one in which they are either lying or deluded about their own existence.
So you're saying that it's not like that a trans person shouldn't be trans person shouldn't start to disagree with they shouldn't change. They shouldn't go, oh wait, I was wrong. Like what kind of message is that, right? What kind of message is saying, okay, so I'm apologize if I sound really harsh here. I'm not like mad. I'm just like critiquing this. I like yapping, so it's kind of part of the reason why it's nice to start this channel because I get to yap to people. But anyway, like basically, you know, just to say that, you know, if it's bad that, you know, or that you shouldn't, you know, to change the views, they'd be, well, I guess he's saying, like, you know, they'd be wrong if they changed the views, right? But that's coming in assuming that your position is right, and then you have to prove that. But if someone ended up winning in the debate, then they're probably right about something. That doesn't mean for sure they're right, because maybe they had maybe the person that was arguing for the trans position didn't have the right arguments that day, or, you know, they didn't do enough research or whatever. But like, if they are ended up being wrong, right, then there's nothing wrong with that. So you should probably make sure that they're right if you're going to say that, you know, they shouldn't change their mind about that, because then they'd be wrong, right? So, anyway.
The deck is very much stacked in the transphobe's favour. So, in that situation...
Are you admitting that we have, that the people who are going against the trans ideology are right about this all along, and that we actually have evidence for that? Is that what you're saying? Is this what Philosophy 2 is saying? I mean, if so, then I guess we won the debate, but sadly I don't think Philosophy 2 wants to debate people on this necessarily, because as I think he says, like, you know, it's not like, I guess we'll see later in the video, I guess, but yeah.
It's perhaps unsurprising that many, though not all people, would decide that faced with an opponent whose entire position is a total denial of your humanity as the kind of human being...
Humanity? I'm sorry, but your belief is not humanity. Like, saying that your belief that you are a gender aside from what you were born as is not debating that is not debating humanity. Like, it's people. Okay, this bothers me when people throw in terms like this to make people get empathetic and go, you know, oh my gosh, you know, they're debating humanity. How these people really hate us. These people are against us. It really makes it us versus them mindset, and I really don't think that's a good thing. It basically. It fuels more divide, especially with all these terms like bigot and transphobe being thrown around. It can really also start to dehumanize people, as possibly what we've seen with Charlie Kirk, right? You'll see people like justifying his death, like saying that, oh, it's good that he it's still good that he died, but he wasn't a good person, right? So I don't feel bad for him, is what people might say, right? Well, it was what some people I believe have said. Right, so it justifying his death because he was considered that, he didn't agree with them, therefore he was a Nazi or he was a bad person, therefore it was okay, or that he died, or it wasn't an all that bad thing that he died, right? I think that's a pretty bad thing if people start doing that. This is quite evident in America that we have a lot of extremists, taking a lot of action, and it's insane what's going on in society today. It's just, we're living in an interesting timeline, I guess you could say. It's the only timeline, but yeah. Trans lives are not a debate. Well, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like the trans ideology is not for debate? Because you can't expect me to believe it if you don't like it. If you're not gonna try to prove it to me. Like what if I brought this into religion, right? For example, I'm Christian, right? So what if I said Christian lives are not for debate, meaning that if you you can't debate me whether Christianity is true, and you just kind of have to believe it because based on this is also this is based on other parts of what the video says. Well, basically, my opinion, God is not for debate, so you kind of have to you're bad if you're Christianophobic if you don't believe it or whatever. I see it. Yeah.
You are. The only winning move in such a game would be not to play. Moreover, it's
the only winning move to play in the game is to not play, is to not debate people about Christianity and just expect them to respect your religion, expect them to expect them to just believe, or at least act as if your religion is true, to make you not get offended, because and you don't even have to prove your position. That's not even how is that? What? I doubt that philosophy would hold that position on the opposite way. Which is kind of what philosophy is a little bit, is kind of exploring, going with the analogies or whatever, going with these things and going to the extreme to see if they still hold up, right? Going to the opposite side, flipping the situation and see if they still hold up. That's what philosophy is. I don't think that what Philosophy Tube is doing seems to be that kind of philosophy, at least, but it'd be nice if he did do that kind of philosophy, because then maybe he'd see that some of the positions I believe, or maybe not the most sound ones all the time. I'm not saying he's wrong every time. I'm not saying he's wrong every single situation. I'm just saying,
It's not just a rigged game, but a risky one. The price of failing to prove to cis people that they are the gender they say they are can be death for trans people.
Literally, how is it death? You mean death of your so-called identity? Death of the death of your opinion? Because I say bringing the word death into it can radicalize people. That could actually cause people to die if you radicalize people enough, right? And that can actually cause people to die. So, it's not death. You just change your mind on something. Okay, there you go. You changed your mind. I was wrong. Just say I was wrong. I'll act as if things are different. I'll change my views now. That's all you have to do. I understand it can be a bit more than that, right? It's a bit more complicated than that, because a lot of people, I think anyway, build their identity upon, or build their worldview, build everything upon their identity, or that and possibly self-esteem on their identity, that they are who they say they are, that they are not the gender they were assigned at birth. So that's basically who they are, and basically, I don't know, maybe that's why it can be pretty hard, but
Betcha writes, to invite me to a philosophical forum in which I prove my womanhood is to do something far different from inviting me to share my views on mathematical Platonism. Do you understand the risks? It's one thing to spout views on the composition problem with both arrogance and ignorance. It happens, it's annoying, but it's quite another thing to do this when we're talking about people who are in the room, people trying and succeeding to philosophize themselves.
What does it philosophizing yourself mean? Hold on. So to invite me to philosophical forum where I prove my womanhood, basically just actually proving your claim, like anyone else that you'd probably expect you'd probably expect that from anyone else, but of course, maybe when it's you don't have to prove it. Is to do something far different from inviting me to share my views on mathematical Platonism. Do you understand the risk? It is to spout views on the composition problem with both arrogance and ignorance. Well, maybe you're the ignorant one. Maybe you consider that, because maybe you're the one who's saying that I don't have to prove my views to you. Who says that? Who says I don't have to prove my views to you in a debate? That's what a debate is about. Okay, let's say philosophical stuff, but it happens. It's annoying, but quite another thing to do it when I'm talking about people. What do you mean? With people who are in the room, people trying and succeeding to philosophize themselves. Just apply this to Christianity or religion, like Islam or about Christianity. Just apply everything said here about Christianity. You know, I think this is where I'll end it for today. 12:21. So, um, so anyway, thanks guys for watching. I really appreciate you guys watching this video, and hopefully, please like and share and subscribe. I would really appreciate if you did that. Um, but anyway, I will end stream, or not stream. I'm sorry, I'm used to stream. I used to stream stuff, so I'm kind of. I'll end the video now. But it was fun. I really liked replying to this. Actually, it was really fun. Um, let me know what else you'd want me to do. Anything else you want me to do in the description below, or sorry, in the comments below. What am I talking about? So yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll probably do a part 2 maybe if this video does well. I guess bye for now. I'll get out. Bye.